Round two. I can buy myself flowers. I can buy myself. You don't understand. I've been recording for 1 minute and 8 seconds.
A minute and 8 seconds.
A minute
Odie.
and 10 seconds. 12
Round
seconds.
of applause for Odie. Woo, minute and 8 seconds.
'Cause
Odie was actually early.
Every time we do this, you're always like, "Are you recording yet?" And I'm like, no, should I be recording?" So as soon as you answered, I just started recording.
That's beautiful. I love that you did that. That's why I send you the Sir Lancelot meme, which is like one of my favorite things to ever send anybody because it's such a niche meme. And I feel like a lot of people I know would get it, but I feel like very few people in total would get it, you know?
I don't get it.
Do you get the Sir Lancelot meme? Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, no. I was just there.
Okay.
Everybody's
like,
always the Valley Girl. I don't get it.
I don't get it.
I don't
get that. So let's talk this out real quick because I feel like this will be a good warm up.
Let's talk it out.
Why do you hate the Paul brothers? I don't know enough about them to hate them or like them.
You don't know anything about Logan or Jake Paul?
Dude, they are so below me on a generational scale. Like whatever popularity they could have with whatever group of people they could have it with. One, I'm not in that group enough to hear about them enough, right? Like I don't know.
Right.
And two, I don't care enough to go out of my way to look them up when anyone does say anything to. I'm just like, oh, that's a thing. Okay.
The only reason I'm surprised is just because like what they've done is like has been so controversial that I'm just surprised that through proxy of media and like news outlets and like you having kids that like hit their demographic, I'm just surprised that like you didn't know, like nothing's come your way. It's just surprising.
Barely anything. I still know Logan Paul is the dude who did splits on Vine. Like that's the Logan Paul I know.
So, I mean, Logan Paul
like...
kind of goes without saying, but I mean, Logan Paul was the one that did the Japanese forest where he was like filming people that had committed suicide in Japan.
Yeah.
He was the one. I mean, I don't know like off top of my head, like all the specifics that they've done, but a general vibe of who these people are, specifically the younger one who is Jake Paul, is that they are extremely sexist. They have said and continue to say very homophobic and like racially motivated things. And on top of that, like they are just the type of people. I'm trying to think of like a good celebrity from like back in the day that would be a good example, but they're just two celebrities that got really big really fast and it went to their head, and they're just gigantic douchebags that built their platform off of like a kid audience but think that they're like hot shit. That's why they're doing like all these boxing matches where like Jake Paul is like, I'm gonna box this person who was an MMA fighter 10 years ago and is 30 pounds overweight to prove that I'm a real boxer. And like, you know, they were like boxing other YouTubers and stuff, and like Logan Paul and Jake Paul have had like the cops called on them. They've had assault charges against them. They've had women that they've dated like speak out and say that they were like emotionally abusive. They were like a little physically abusive. Like just you know, like just general bad celebrity. Like kind of like I don't know, like what's his name?
Andrew Tate.
Yeah, like they're that's the person.
See, I know that one. Mason knew that one. Mason brought that to my doorstep like 2 years ago. He brought Andrew Tate up, and I was like, let's look him up. And I watched all of like one video, and I was like, this guy sucks.
Yeah, they've like defended
Mason just
him.
was like, he was like, what do you mean he sucks? I'm like, he sounds like a very weak-minded person. And Mason was like, no, he's tough because he says that you gotta be. And I was like, it sounds like he's a lot of talk and not a lot of action, Mason.
And
he
Mason's
was like,
his target audience, people that are not completely developed enough to understand. But like the Paul brothers have defended people like Andrew Tate.
Oh, lame. All right.
So,
well,
yeah,
hopefully my purchase of about a dozen primes a year because I want a coconut water-based.
What about body armor?
Hydration. Huh?
Why not body armor?
I don't know what body armor is. I never see it. What's body armor?
It's, to my knowledge, it's just like Prime, but better. I like body armor.
Is it
It's
the
like coconut
caffeinated Gatorade thing?
No, it's coconut flavored water.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I bought Prime one time and it was good, man. Like I didn't buy it and go, this is Logan Paul's thing. I was just like, oh, cool,
Yes, you did.
Prime.
You
All right,
wore
I'll try it.
You wore your Logan Paul T-shirt.
I wore my
my
free
Low
tape
gang
shirt.
Oh yeah, he calls his followers, Logan Paul calls them the Low Gang.
I mean, it's right there. The fruit's right there. Like I can't blame him on that one. That's low hanging fruit.
That's bad.
Whatever. There's Taylor Gang, Low Gang. Look, dude, there's
That's
so many
called
dumb
Swifties?
things. I'm not gonna sit here. Yeah, Swifties. I'm not gonna sit here and cherry pick all the stupid things we do in society. I just spent an hour setting up Halloween decorations. I'm not even gonna hate on Christmas the way that I would. Like Christmas. Like there's so many people who got like super into Christmas, and I feel like for a long time, I like kind of hated on like how over the board people would get into Christmas, but I'm having just as much fun putting a little witch hat on top of a candle and like carving a pumpkin later. Like I think I've reached that point. I've talked to you about this before. Like there's an inherent threshold. Let me start. There is an inherent threshold of hypocrisy. There is. Like you can go out and be like, oh, Christmas, so fucking early. But then, like, where are we? It was like September 15th, and I was like, spooky season is upon us, y'all. Like, you can be like, oh, I hate Logan Paul, but I love Taylor Swift and her private jets. I'm not talking about you specifically, Odie. You don't like either one of them. But, like, but then, like, you go out and you're like, oh, man, shame on Drake, but I'm a huge fan of, I don't know, fucking Key Glock. Like, there's so many, so many examples of things that you can like and hate at the same time in society that essentially make you ideologically a hypocrite, like right off 100%. The bat, right? So that inherent threshold of hypocrisy is just there. So I guess what I'm saying in the beginning of this podcast is I'm probably going to drink Prime unironically because I enjoy the flavor, not because I support the person behind the brand. And although everybody's becoming a brand, as it would turn out, as like different companies merge and absorb one another. I just turned on fucking Disney the other day and like Fox is on there now and F1 racing. I was like, wait, Disney owns F1 racing? Like
Disney bought and owns everything that Fox owned. But you know what's funny about all this?
It's insane.
Is on this podcast.
Is that word brand?
Well, yes, but also I have painted myself as a hater for so many things. The Rock, Logan Paul, Taylor Swift.
Yes. I mean, The Rock is you comically hate that. We know you don't hate The Rock. We know you love The Rock.
I watched all of his movies.
I just proved to you that he's not that good. And honestly, even that though, I'm gonna give the concession. The dude's still famous, still makes tons of money, still does a pretty good job and everything. He signs up for a job and he fucking does it, right? Same thing with your other favorite actor. We'll get right into it. Jason Statham is going to be in a goddamn... Look, this is... They are making this unironically, but it should have been ironic. They are making The Beekeeper. They are making a movie about a man who keeps bees, but is part of a secret organization called The Beekeeper. No!
Yeah.
No, it's whoever is trying to layer
Keep
that.
doing it.
No.
Keep doing it.
And not only that, he shows up. He's just tending bees in the beginning, and then they're like, "You don't realize what hive you fucking kicked here, kid." Like, come on, man.
It's my hive. Yeah, dude, I can't wait for that movie. Actually,
No!
It looks really good. Looks really good.
No.
Yeah. Do you think
We cannot do The Beekeeper.
Do you think that they teach them how to take care of bees in Beekeeper Killer School?
No,
or
he elected to take care of bees.
He was just like, I love bees. I need more bees.
It's a stupid metaphor, and it doesn't hit.
Hey, Kevin, you're kicking the wrong hive there, buckaroo.
Let's start this podcast. Let's start this podcast.
I love that. I can't wait for that movie.
I'm going to watch it the same day you watch it.
We're going to watch it together. I'm going to fly out in January.
I'm fine. I hope it comes straight to streaming.
No. You should fly out here in January and we'll go snowboarding. And we'll watch
then watch The Beekeeper. My fucking...
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready to clap?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
Can you tell that since I woke up like 2 hours ago, I have not done anything?
Yeah, you haven't done shit, man.
I've
been all over the place, man. I had a whole breakfast with Cades. We went and got. I'm super gassy. Hold on. We went and got breakfast, and I ventured out. You know how like, would you describe yourself as an adventurous eater?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, cool. Tell me if you would order this, because I did, and I loved it, but also regret it. I ordered a bratwurst omelet. Go ahead. First, tell me if you would order an item called a bratwurst omelet.
Okay, well, what would the item like? So you're looking at a menu.
Yep.
And it says bratwurst omelet.
Oh, it's a special. It's not on the regular menu.
What does it say that's in it? Like, does it give you
right.
anything? Like,
straight
any
up,
of the ingredients?
It's a giant omelet. First off, it says huge omelet on it.
Love
like
that.
Huge was capitalized, and I was like, huge omelet, cool. I like huge omelets. All right, so huge omelet. There's bratwurst in the omelet. Okay. Here's what else is in the omelet: smoked Gouda cheese and sauerkraut. And it's served because it's bratwurst with a side of applesauce and homemade multi-grain mustard.
Okay. So the only thing in that I don't
and
like.
Sour cream.
And it's just a texture thing. But honestly, in this, I might be willing to give it a try.
Yeah.
Is applesauce.
Okay. First
but
off.
everything else, delicious. Yeah. That sounds.
Full disclosure.
So good.
Did not eat the applesauce.
Okay. Cool. I don't like applesauce.
It was like a little tiny, like a little tiny.
Oh, I thought it was like on the plate, like you dip it in
like
it or something.
Tiny. You're supposed to, but I did not. I could not even get that. Also potato pancakes. It came with potato pancakes. This was like a full on.
That sounds incredible, dude.
Yeah, it was a full on Eastern European breakfast. I loved it.
It's delicious.
Right? But here's one thing I did not think about. If you consume that much egg and that much sauerkraut, you are going to be so gassy all day. All day. You're just going to be a gas bomb. You're just going to be walking around like tooting and hooting. That's it. All day. I've just been burping nonstop since I ate that thing this morning. And Caden, like, he's sitting in the backseat, and these aren't like little burps either. These are like huge belches, right? And Caden's just like, excuse you. Like, he's just sitting in the backseat.
Love Caden.
And then at one point, he's like, you're burping a lot. I was like, yeah, I know, Caden. Okay. I know, buddy. And he's like, and they're big burps too. I'm like,
hey, let me ask you a question, Kevin.
Yeah, what's up?
What time are your people coming over?
We have got about 30 minutes.
Cool. So let's talk about the topic because I have so much riffing that I could talk about.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
I could go all day. I've been decorating for Halloween. It's been crazy this week.
One of these bonus episodes, we just need to just do like an hour of just like whatever we're talking about, just like a catch up.
Ooh, a proper potpourri.
Proper potpourri.
We finally made it. All right. We'll do that. We'll do that sometime.
You pitched a topic to me on the phone, and you just gave me one word, and I want to let you know right now that because I've worked 6 days this week, and like this is my only rest day, I did zero preparation, like you said.
Okay.
Did you?
No.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if we were supposed to prepare lists or anything, but
this
topic is pretty easy.
Let's be real. I've kind of prepared my whole life for this.
I mean, let's be honest. You probably have something that you're just sitting on that you're going to be like, and Odie, this. Also,
is why I brought up this topic this week.
Real quick, I just want to just say this.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Unpop Podcast. I am your co-host, Odie, the chef. They, them. We didn't introduce ourselves 15 minutes into this.
Yes.
With me, as always, is the other host.
Kevin Miner, he, him.
I just realized.
Take it away, Odie.
As I said my name, I was like, you never did the intro because I didn't sigh from your long-winded, over-the-top intro.
Yes.
But I did it.
All right.
So we're good.
I liked yours. It was too short, though. Welcome back to the Unpop Podcast. This is another beautiful episode brought to you this spooky season, and I'm not talking about tax season. That's a nod to the Weekly Planet. I'm your
That is a nod to
host,
the Weekly Planet.
Kevin Miner, he, him, El Capitan Todo Siempre Como El Sole, and with me as always is
D. Matthew, the chef, they, them.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, so I called you up, what was it, 2 days ago, and I was like, all right, here's what we're doing. We're talking about vampires, because we're in October now. It's full-on spooky season, baby. I got purple lights above my window. I got orange lights outside of my door. I got a ghost.
Since today is Sunday, October 15th.
Yes.
To date.
Yep.
On October 13th, do you want to see what I got done?
Yes.
This is great for a podcast.
I can't believe you got a tattoo of Ghostface Killer from the Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh my God, I'm going to kill you. Stop it. You're the only person who's going to go to Ghostface from
You
Wu-Tang.
called me up and you were... This is not an unreasonable jump to make, though. When people say Ghostface to me, most of the time, because I'm not surrounded by, like, fellow slasher fans, right? So most of the time, which is probably, twice a year tops, if someone says Ghostface to me, it's because we're deep in a musical conversation and they are talking about Ghostface Killer from the Wu-Tang Clan, famous singer of the song Kilo.
Well, I will Venmo you $5 if you can guess which killer from the Scream franchise I'm going to say that this Ghostface Killer is.
It's the one from Scream 4. All right, I lost it out. I don't know.
Stu Moniker. It's gonna be Matthew
the first
Lillard,
one?
obviously. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The reason we're doing this to get on to spooky season topics.
Spooky season.
I am introducing Goose to the entire Scream franchise for the first time.
Oh wait,
my favorite slasher.
Say spooky season again.
Spooky season.
All right, now say Scream again.
Scream.
Yay. All right, cool. Keep going.
But yeah, so. We watched Scream 1, and we have a huge list of scary movies that I'll probably maybe rapid fire for the last spooky episode of October. But
the last episode is going to be on the we're recording the weekend of the 28th, right?
Yes.
That's also Brandy's birthday weekend, so we'll good luck to us figuring that out. But we should just we should do a spooky season potpourri. That can be our riffing episode where we're just kind of going off on stuff that we did this season. I'm looking at pumpkins ready to be carved right now.
I got one in my front room ready to be carved.
I'm in the middle of this,
decorations ready to be put up.
Yep.
So you wanted to talk about, and I'm down for it, vampires.
Yes.
Now, the last vampire movie I saw was Dracula on a boat. The last voyage of the Demeter.
Yes.
Yes. I love all these burps.
It's so great.
So for this audio podcast, if those of you that are wondering, for one, the tattoo is just Ghostface that I was showing Kevin, but also every 5 seconds, Kevin is moving the mic about 10 feet from his face so he can burp.
Yes.
And I can still hear it.
I'm sure it's still in the background. And probably. I'm not editing those out at all.
Love it.
Ever.
So what made you want to talk about vampires?
Well, so I watched Renfield this week, and I'll get to that later. But it just got me thinking. I'm like, oh my God, vampires is one of the most saturated. Vampires are not only a character type, a creature type, but also a genre, right? Vampires can be the good guys. Vampires can be the bad guys. Vampires can be just the monster of the film. Maybe a neutral evil, right? Not intentionally. Hold on. A bad guy, but it's horrible. I told you. I asked if you would order this item off the menu so I could then tell you not to. Don't do it ever. Though. Don't ever put sauerkraut and eggs together ever. If you go to Oktoberfest and someone offers you sauerkraut and eggs, don't eat it. I'm recommending that to you now. You don't need to experience this. Yes. Anyway, so they're so versatile, and it didn't happen overnight, right? Of course, we have Bram Stoker's Dracula, right? We have the original tale of Dracula. We have sort of the classic archetype, and that's what I would say Last Voyage of the Demeter falls into, right? And then we also have Renfield, which is like a modern take on the Dracula familiar relationship, his relationship to Renfield. And like I said, I'll touch on that later. But then in between the classic tale of Dracula and like classic Nosferatu, which is being remade now, and now we have so many different versions of vampires, and I feel like there's almost one for everybody. I feel like there's a version that each person can like your Swifties can love your Edward Collins, right? Your emo kids can love your Kate Beckinsale in Underworld. Your like you got your classic vampire lovers who are probably going to fawn over Willem Dafoe playing Nosferatu. You've got your Taika Waititi fans that are into What We Do in the Shadows. Yeah. There's so many,
Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Horny Dracula.
Yeah. Your classic Gary Oldman Dracula. There's so many different vampires. There's one for every fandom, right? What, Odie, pray tell, would be your favorite is what I'm wondering.
That's a tough one. I think maybe not my favorite.
Okay.
Because that'd be like, that's a kind of a hard, like, what's my favorite vampire?
Yeah.
But I think the one that I truly think maybe stands out as like the pinnacle performance of a Dracula would be Christopher Lee. I mean, that man did everything.
Yep.
But like his Dracula from, what is that, like the 70s?
Yep.
Actually, you know what? I take it back. My favorite Dracula is Blackula.
You serious?
Yeah, just because there's a really good gag about that in my favorite TV show, Psych.
Oh, that's actually a horrible movie, though.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay, great.
I don't know what my favorite vampire is. That's like a really, really hard question to answer because there are so many vampires out there. What's your favorite vampire?
My favorite vampire. I'm so glad you asked, Odie. My favorite
you had
vampire.
Time to think about this.
No, I have had plenty of time to think about this. I just told you I'm playing with my vampire deck when Matt, Pat, and Mark get here because we're playing Magic the Gathering, baby. My favorite vampires, I would say, like my top favorite vampires actually come from the world of Innistrad in Magic the Gathering. So here's how vampires get made in Magic the Gathering, and I'm very excited to explain this to you. Edgar Markov makes a deal with a demon so that he can help his family to live forever on a very hostile plane of existence known as Innistrad, which is gothic horror inspired. And they kill an angel and drink its blood, and he forces his grandson Soren to drink it, and Soren becomes an eternal sad boy. And those are the vampires of Innistrad. And then Soren eventually becomes a planeswalker, which means he can go all over the multiverse. So you just have this vampire all over the place, and he makes other vampires. And then there's different vampires that exist on Zendikar. I love the vampire treatment in Magic the Gathering. There's actually a new set coming out called Ixalan, Lost Caverns of Ixalan. On Ixalan, the vampires, there's Elenda the Dusk Rose, who's kind of like this legendary vampire, and they take on a conquistador-like vibe. They have this very like Spanish colonialist look to them, which makes sense because they're oppressive vampires who want to oppress different peoples, and they're the villains, and they're white-black aligned. And then on Innistrad, they're like black-white-red aligned. And one of my favorites ever is Olivia Voldaren, and she is a vampire who's known for just being chaotic evil. She's like red, black aligned, and she just creates all of these problems. But then recently, a little over a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago, there was a set called Crimson Vow, and it was all about the vampires. And essentially the entire thing was Olivia Voldaren is going to get married to Edgar Markov, and then vampires are going to take over Innistrad. And it was one of the most fun times I've ever had playing cards.
I think I have my answer for you.
What is it?
I have two, but I'm going to change it a little bit. I'm going to give you my favorite vampire, but I'm also going to give you my favorite vampire hunter.
Okay.
Because a lot of the times when I think of vampire movies, it's not necessarily the vampire that sticks out to me. It's the person that's involved with either figuring out what it is or like taking it down that usually stands out to me more. And I mean, obviously, like that's not the case with every single one.
Yeah.
But I think a vampire movie that stands out to me, and I watched it recently, because a YouTube channel was talking about the work of Guillermo del Toro, and I was like, I kind of want to watch some of his older stuff. So I watched his movie from the early 90s, Cronos.
I've never seen that.
It's a Spanish film.
Ooh.
With Ron Perlman. And Ron Perlman literally credits this movie to saving the back half of his career. Because Guillermo del Toro was such a big fan of Ron Perlman, and Ron Perlman was in this movie, he ended up then, as we all know, Guillermo del Toro famously did Hellboy, which starred Ron Perlman. And because they worked together on Cronos, Ron Perlman got Hellboy, which then helped his career stay afloat moving forward in the back half of it. So Cronos is a really interesting movie. Yes. It's a vampire tale that's like, it's not fully vampire. It's really interesting. And if you don't mind subtitles on foreign films, I really like Guillermo del Toro, and this movie is very unsettling in a lot of ways too. Yeah. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. It's also cool that I finally name a movie that you haven't seen. So that's cool. Yeah. But my favorite vampire hunter is a man who has done so much for this country and just saved us from so many things, Kevin. Can you guess who it is?
No.
Abraham Lincoln, vampire hunter.
Ooh, I do like that one.
I think that's the best vampire hunter to choose out of all the ones.
I think it's
just because
the most comical for sure.
He's a president. I mean, how many other Trump's not out there slaying vampires?
No.
Biden's basically a vampire himself.
Yep. I love the thing I love about that is the silver treatment on the axes. Who's the bad guy vampire in that one? He's such a good actor. He was on Priest, and I can't remember his name.
Oh, is it?
And then he was in World of Warcraft. He's in so many good things. Dominic Cooper.
Yeah, yes. I had to think for a second.
Such a good bad guy. I wish Dominic Cooper did more.
He's preacher, but he's also
preacher. Sorry, priest. I said priest.
I knew what you meant though. He's also young, Howard Stark in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for like 2 movies before they replace him with somebody else. Yeah, Captain America. Anyways, yeah.
I love Dominic Cooper.
What do you think about when it comes to vampires, right? So thinking about it, you already mentioned like your traditional like Dracula vampires, right? But obviously you've got your other vampires like your Twilights and, you know,
Underworlds.
So what's your opinion on vampires like
first
30 Days of Night? Well, hang on, no, I'm going to ask you specifics. What are your opinion on specifically like the fast, crazy, almost zombie-like vampires, like the ones from I Am Legend and like 30 Days of Night and like Fright Night, like the vampires that are like they're gruesome and brutal and fast and vicious. You know, what are your opinion on those?
30 Days of Night, perfectly done. Love that one.
Good movie.
Yeah.
Good movie.
I Am Legend, a little weird, kind of not necessarily vampires, but definitely.
Apparently they are.
Yeah, they are, but they aren't. It's such a weird space that Alan Moore created for them with that graphic novel, and then also with and then the movie kind of made it even more vague. In the graphic novel, it's a little more apparent, but also the ending's better. So
yeah,
it's way better. 30 Days of Night, those vampires, I wouldn't call them zombie-like because they're very much in control, but they're just rage-driven, right? Like they're very passionate vampires. I would say they lean into that bloodlust a little more, and they have a wanton disregard for human life. I say that's a better version of a vampire as a monster. Now, of course, there's the romanticized vampire that started with Interview with the Vampire, Bram Stoker's Dracula. You know, your sexification of the vampires definitely took place, right? I don't like those as much. I think that like those earlier ones are pretty good, and then you got, you know, Queen of the Damned with Aaliyah, and as you're leaning further and further into the sexification of vampires and like making them this sexy anti-hero, kind of like villain a lot of times, but then like also misunderstood monster, kind of like Frankenstein. I feel like you start to muddy the waters, and then that just kind of peaks with Twilight, where they're like, they can also walk in the sun and they glisten, and it's like, nah, see, now we're not vampires. Now we're a new thing. You've made a new thing. Like you've broken off from the rules, but also like, you know, we've had so much time to develop the mythos of vampires in popular culture that like doing movies that are just the classic rules of like no sunlight, wooden stakes, silver crosses, you know, like those are the things. I think that's a little too formulaic. I think you do need to, you know, evolve, branch out, develop over time. But then like Vampire Diaries and the originals, not as good. And then you've got stuff like I said, like Twilight is just kind of like, in my opinion, Twilight is the worst form of vampire. It did the most disservice to vampires as like a thing, you know?
I think that's because Twilight, I truly believe, and I mean, like, obviously you can rip Twilight apart a lot of different ways for like the writing and characters, but I really think that was Stephenie Meyer just being like, I want to write this like love triangle thing. What's a good element that I could just like have be like the driving through force to build around? And I think she was just like, mummies, zombies, vampires.
No, I think she actually likes.
That's what it feels like.
Well, I think she actually likes the classic monsters like vampires and werewolves. But she definitely, Stephenie Meyer's vampires are only Stephenie Meyer's vampires. They are not vampires for everybody. And the part where like they could walk in the sun, I was immediately not sold on. I was just like, that is stupid.
They like, can't walk in the sun because everyone wants to see how glittery they
are.
The
whole point of having vampires be any form of a monster, right? The idea of the curse is that, yes, you can sustain yourself forever, but here's the deal, Dorian Gray, right? Like the deal is you have to, 1, drink blood. You can only drink blood. You have to, like, this is what I like about vampires. There's a deal. There's a curse. There's a thing. Like, yes, immortal. Good for you. You live forever. But here's the conditions on you living forever. 1, have to drink human blood. 2, cannot go in the sun. I think those are great. I think once you get into the crosses, it gets a little, you know, that's more of like the anglicized, you know, Western religion influenced
Catholicism.
Vampires. I get the divine magic, whatever. And we're talking about vampires. So like, yeah, you can do that all you want. But ultimately, this is horrible.
My favorite line in Twilight, though, because we watched them last year. We did like a drunk watching.
Yeah.
No, well, vampire. But it's when I don't remember like the exact like verbatim of what he says, but like the whole scene in the first movie when he's about to show her what he looks like in the sun, he's like, "I'm a monster. I'm hideous. You don't want to see me in the sun. Like, I'll show you who I really am." And then he's like in the sun, and it's just like, "I'm glittering.
Yeah,
that's who I really am."
So
and she's like, "Oh my god!" It's like, wait a minute. So your big secret of why you don't go in the sun, which is totally just thrown out the window in later movies because you guys are all in the sun and nothing's happening, is basically it's like looking down a kaleidoscope with a bunch of pretty colors and lights.
Yes.
Cool.
Absolutely
like stay in the shadows, my friend.
So like I feel like there's, like I said, there's so many different versions, and obviously the Twilight ones are just not for us. However, on the other side, and talking about you know the inherent threshold of hypocrisy, I love the sexification of vampires in the Underworld series and werewolves. I think they did a great job. I love Lucian, and I can't remember Kate Beckinsale's character because they almost never say her name but always treat her like a problem. I do. I love Tywin Lannister as King of the Vampires in multiple movies. You know, Charles Dance. I can't remember his character's name either, but like, you know, like
I've never seen Underworld.
Oh my God, you should.
I watched all the Resident Evils because, to be fair, Kevin, you picked vampires.
Yes.
But I'm more of a zombie person.
That's fine. We can talk zombies next week or whatever. But like, I like the rules of a curse. That's what I like. I like that there are rules.
I can agree with that.
I like that, you know, like it's not just like we're vampires and part of it is that we live forever. It's no, I like that it's yes, we will live forever. But it's not going to be any kind of normal human life. It's not going to be like the life that we once knew. And that's where the original mythos comes from, is to make a bargain, that would keep you alive forever. There will be stipulations that you would not enjoy. It's like a monkey's paw. It's a be careful what you wish for type thing, So many people would want to live forever, but but at what cost is the question.
So,
and the answer in that, in the vampire and werewolf genre too, is you are a monster, right? That's the only way that you can live forever, human, to become something that you would otherwise have hunted.
So what you're saying is, because you like consistency in like how the universe works.
I like that part of it, yes.
It's safe to say to the viewers, to the listeners, that you are a massive Indiana Jones fan.
No.
And Dial of Destiny was your favorite movie of the year, correct?
No. Did you see that movie yet?
Correct.
Are there vampires?
So you've seen it a lot. You've seen it a lot?
No.
You love that movie?
No, I have no idea what's going on.
Favorite movie of the year?
No.
Cool, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't even remember half of
he, hims, and
Indiana
she, hers.
Jones film.
Indiana Jones
no.
is Kevin's favorite
I don't like him.
action hero
He's
on
not
film.
Good. No. It's
You heard
not
it. You
good.
heard it here.
No.
So anyways, moving forward.
Indiana Jones is the Logan Paul of archaeology. There, I said it.
I figured the Logan. Okay, well then that means that the Jake Paul of archaeology is what's his name? Tom Holland's Drake from Uncharted.
Whatever.
Nathan
I don't
Drake.
care. I didn't watch that one either. Look, Indiana. I don't have anything to say about that man who had inappropriate relations with a high school girl when he was like in his 20s. That's like one of the
Carrie Fisher.
One of the throwaway lines in the first movie was like, "You broke my heart, Indy," and they're like. They were really pushing for that to be a serious relationship, and it's like he would have been.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the fact that he did that with Star Wars too. Wow, Harrison Ford, younger women.
Great. Well, hey, that was the time, man. A bunch of old dudes and bands were writing songs about 16-year-old girls. We don't have to go there. We're talking about vampires.
We're
talking about old dudes sucking the blood of young ladies. Like we're not talking about old dudes
Different
writing
vampire.
songs about old ladies.
Different.
Yeah. No, but like I would say that's so I lean into the curse of it. I like the curse aspect. I like that there's a bargain. I like that it's not just you live forever. And the other thing that I really enjoy in vampire movies is exploiting the limits to where a vampire could push that, right? Like finding how far they can go to be the monster that they are, right? Underworld is great in that it's vampires versus werewolves, and kind of neither side are actually the good guys, whichever side you're rooting for. Werewolves are kind of fighting against the oppressive vampires who were once their masters. Lucian is their leader, and he's a rebel, but he doesn't care what the cost is to like exterminate the vampires, right? And then the vampires don't care what the cost is to exterminate the werewolves, because they're like, we're not going to use them as slaves or pets anymore. And that only develops over time in that series. They actually do a really good job with it up until the last movie. And then I do like Blade, but Blade to me like has always been a little bit funny in that they were like, he's a daywalker. And like, of course, the daywalker vampire just has they're like, he's got dark skin. That's why I can handle the sunlight. That's obviously why he's the daywalker. No other vampire is a daywalker unless he's the only one, and he looks like that.
I almost mentioned Blade because the Blade is one of those famous instances where a comic book hero was transferred to the big screen.
Yes.
But they were like, oh, let's change his powers.
Yeah,
because
that was
in the
weird.
comic before the 90s, Blade was just a normal, regular person that fought vampires. But in the movie, his mom was bitten by a vampire, so he became half vampire.
Yes.
And then the comic book, after the success of like Blade 2, I want to say, or Blade 1 even, is when they changed his origin and who he was in the comics.
Oh, what did they change it to after Blade 2?
Well, they changed it to the movie version.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Like they gave him that background and that power
makes
set.
More sense, right?
It does.
Yeah.
Than a normal guy just fighting vampires.
Yeah. But I like Blade. I like the idea of having vampires and action blended in, right? But really, I I would say like I only can appreciate so many instances venturing outside the vampire as a horror creature because it's so ripe for horror, right? One of the best D&D campaigns I ever ran, I ran with a character who had like kind of kit bashed this druid vampire creature, and like one of my favorite parts of running that campaign was coming up with like, well, how does that bargain work out for her, right? How does she play into, and I was like, all right, well, the sun is obviously going to make you weaker, but it's not going to set you on fire, but you're going to be significantly weaker, right? So like she had to consistently navigate this whole like, oh, I can't really like fight well in the daylight. I can't do much well in the daylight. And she's like, but at night she's stronger, you know, and like it was really fun to work that back and forth. And I don't like when people skip that part of the world building. But I mean, ultimately, if I was gonna run it down, I would say favorite vampires, definitely the vampires of Innistrad, for sure. Look them up. Like, you can only read some stories on them, but the lore's awesome and they're really interesting. Just vampire treatment in Magic the Gathering's amazing. And then the like close second would be What We Do in the Shadows, just because they're hilarious. We haven't even talked about it yet, but like that movie,
very funny.
Classic vampire rules. Instead of like making it spooky, though, it's just like, how silly is it that vampires could be around today, and how would that look, right? And having these people who very obviously still want to kind of be people, but also live forever and reap the benefits of that. Like, having them navigate that in a comedic setting is just perfect. So Taika Waititi crushed it with that. You know, that was like his first big film.
Yeah, he's pretty good at, I mean, like, have you seen the preview for his new movie, Next Goal Wins?
Yes.
About that? Yeah, like, he's really good at taking concepts like that, and I think he does. I think the thing with Taika Waititi, why people I think are a little hesitant on him, is because of the way he did the last Thor movie, which I still have not seen.
I don't
apparently
blame
he's like,
Taika Waititi for that.
Well, here's the thing. Like, everybody liked it when Thor was funny, but the thing is in Ragnarok, from memory, again, I've only seen that movie like once, but it was like kind of funny and kind of serious, right? But then they went full funny on the last one.
It was okay.
And I think people
Ragnarok was it wasn't kind of funny, kind of serious. The rule in Ragnarok is if you're trying to be a hero, you fail. But if you're just being yourself and it happens to be heroic, you succeed.
Well,
that's how that entire movie works.
But what I'm moving towards is that Taika Waititi made the second one that he directed really, really funny, and it was like all jokes all the time.
Yeah.
And it's because he is a very good comedic writer.
Yes.
But when you give somebody that's a comedic writer full reign, then it becomes too comedic, and that kind of like overshadows other things, which is apparently what people didn't like.
Well, I think the reason people really didn't like that was it's the God Butcher series, and the God Butcher series is dark and cosmic and vast, and like, we didn't even get the cool scene with Thor waiting for the God Butcher to show up with like all of the weapons of his fallen comrades sitting next to him while he's on a throne with like one eye missing, just like his dad, and he's got like this crazy sword and he's ready to fight him. Like, we didn't even get that scene. And
you don't get. I think they just skipped over too much.
But you can't do. Yeah. I think what they did was the goal that was maybe given to him was too much, which was like, take this series that people know and love, and then crunch it into one film, which you shouldn't do, because Thor loses to the God Butcher first, and then figures out how to inevitably win, right? And it's not through traditional means, but like, that was too much.
My point is that I think that if you give Taika Waititi the right project and let him do his humor mixed in very well, you get movies like What We Do in the Shadows, and it works really well.
Rabbit.
And Jojo Rabbit. Yep.
Stuff like that.
Yep.
Yes, I agree. And then third favorite vampires, just for the lore, because I love the vampires and werewolves. I love the Lycans specifically in Underworld. I love the idea of lycanthropy. I think they did a really good job of saying vampires need lycans because they need something that can be outside during the day, right? And so like they were selectively breeding them the kind of way that humans breed dogs. And
Interesting.
Like, yeah, dude, Underworld's a really good piece. And if you watch the first 3 in a row, like if you watch Underworld, it's Underworld 1, Underworld 2, and then Underworld Rise of the Lycans. So if you watch those 3 back to back, it's like action movie, continuation of an action movie, kind of epic adventure style, still with, very action centric and, a developing plot. And then the third one is prequel, but it explains all of the cool action from the first 2. So like they did a really good job with that. I highly recommend watching those.
Nice.
Yeah.
I guess if I had to do 3 vampires to wrap this up, because we're coming up on your card time.
Hell yeah.
I guess my 3 favorites would be I'm gonna say Dave Franco's character from Daywalkers, the Netflix movie with Jamie Foxx. I'm gonna say the girl that gets saved in the I Am Legend movie that Will Smith's character was doing experiments on.
Okay.
And then for the final one, I'm gonna say Gary Oldman's Horny Dracula. Those are my 3 favorites.
So horny.
So horny.
Yes, horny Dracula is great. Those are good favorites. So the reason I brought up this topic is because I watched Renfield. So let me
Those are not good favorites.
Those are great favorites. The reason I brought this up is because I watched Renfield, which is an amazing movie with Nicolas Cage playing Dracula. Yeah, we'll do this as my jam. So spoilers for Renfield, because I do want to talk about it a little bit.
I'm gonna watch it.
You should. First off, I'm not gonna do like crazy heavy spoil, but the overarching plot of the film is that Renfield, Dracula's assistant, as played by Odie, who plays
Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult. Renfield, as played by Nicholas Hoult, is in a support group for people who are in abusive relationships.
Yeah.
and is still working for Dracula in New Orleans, and just finding him victims. But what he has decided to do is find him victims that aren't innocent people. And Dracula is onto his game because Dracula, like, one of the rules, is like, the more innocent, the better they taste, the more powerful I become, right? That's like part of which, leans into, I like that part. Like, that's the bargain. Like, kill innocent people. It's better for you. And he is a villain. Dracula is a proper villain in this. And in the beginning, there are some vampire hunters who show up and like really F Dracula up. So in the beginning of the movie, pretty quickly, Nicolas Cage is looking messed up. like really messed up. And I really love the makeup job that they did on
I gotta watch
this Dracula.
Tonight.
It also is a comedy and an action. I would call it dark horror or dark comedy action. That's what this film is. It very much has like, sort of the other guys type influence in that the character opposite Nicholas Hoult, Renfield, is Awkwafina as a police officer. And she's just doing traffic stops, but she wants to bust a whole crime gang. And they really make that part of her character like the comedic part. So like she has the breadth to be able to be sincere about her wishes, but then also like it's a little comedic because she's doing traffic stops and she wants to bust a whole crime gang, It's hilarious.
I like Awkwafina.
Oh, she's great.
I think that's a good combo.
She's great.
I'll have to watch this.
Yeah,
I wanted to watch it in
recommend.
theaters and I never got around to it.
Me too.
I need to do that.
I did mean to watch it in theaters. I think it was out last year. But it
was.
Yeah.
I think
And here we are a year later. It's actually good. Big recommendation.
It looks good.
Plus, Nicolas Cage, I was saying this to you the other day. Nicolas Cage's Dracula is only perfect because
it's a perfect casting.
Because he plays it so sincerely, but it's so silly, right? Like, and the thing that I love the most about Nicolas Cage as Dracula is that like I said to you the other day, he's the anti-Tom Hanks. Like, he's doing the same thing Tom Hanks does, but it actually lands. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's up? All right.
Well,
what's
my
your
jam?
jam?
Is simple. Scream.
Oh,
we watched Scream.
You mean
and that's
Ghostface
pretty
Killer?
much all I've really. Have fun playing.
Is it Ghostface Killer?
Your-
Is that your jam? You don't.
Kevin sucks.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, man. Have fun playing cards.
Yeah, man.
Bad romance. Ooh, rah, la, la, la. Ooh, rah, la, la, la. I'm bad romance. Ooh, la, 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 la. Caught in a bad romance. Something, something, something. I want your loving, I want your regret. Something, something every day. I want your bad romance. Ooh, la, 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 la.